this would be the fifth.
This will be the fifth Blend Art Show.
I mean, when you to get back to the corporation,
Sure.
Was that an idea that was coupled with, because like you said that the business background isn't innate in both of you,
Right.
So was that something that you guys intended upon beginning, or was it kind of came out of work?
It came out of work. There was no when Blend Art Show started, there was no business intention behind it, and part of it is because we didn't understand business at that point. But one thing we've learned on the actual Blend Corp, the business, is if you do what you like, eventually you'll get it right, regardless, you know. And success, and we're not there yet, obviously, but success is a function of your satisfaction. You know, success. Everybody says, "Oh, does this thing have money?" I think that's a wrong question. You know, success. You know, these things are a function of your satisfaction. If you're satisfied in what you're doing, eventually it will come together, because of your satisfaction, you don't stop doing it. And we've been at it for 7 years now, and you don't imagine how many hours we work, and it will happen. You know,
Right.
Physics. You know, gravity is gonna pull us one way or the other. It can't be some high flying. So what happened is we built some structural things. We start doing some structural things. We start becoming serious about looking at our books. We start looking at actually finding good talents, and we got lucky. You know, we found good people around us. So Blend is now a 6-people team, and most likely we're gonna add a couple more over the next year. We have good clients, fairly large clients. The World Bank is one of our clients. Department of Education is another client of ours. Geico, we just finished redesigning the Geico application, which was a fairly big deal.
Yeah,
you know?
and you said, and you. I don't think that's fair that you said that you guys aren't there. I mean, we have to talk it up though. You guys really are doing some amazing things, and I think that it's amazing, which is why I wanted you on the show.
Right.
And I guess my question is to speak to that success. Would you say that it's the passion that really drives where you guys are today?
Right, very much. I mean, I think you can draw a straight line between the passion we've had and the place where we're at. You know, it's the way I would like to see it is we're still young. You know, it's a very young company. You know, there are corporations that run 80, 70, 90 years in this country. We want to be that. You know, there's no reason why we can't be that. You know, there's absolutely no reason. There's nothing that will stop us to become the next great company, right? The only thing that I see would be a problem is the lack of imagination. And as long as we've had that, we have the imagination, there is no reason why. And I say this to anybody, it's just, you know, don't force yourself to be down. You just dream higher, you know. You'll land in the moon, somewhere in the moon, and you'll be fine.
Right.
So yes, I mean, we've done, in the last 3 years, 4 years, we've done quite a bit. We actually have done a pretty interesting project for the World Bank. They have a data visualization platform that we've written that gotten a lot of attention, and that was actually the starting point to actually do this serious big project. And we, you know, like I said, finishing up Geico was a very important big deal for us. Now we're working with Department of Education to help them out with opening up their data set. So, you know, in a funny way, all these things have a connection, but you only can see it in hindsight.
Right.
You know, it's very difficult to see things, how the dots will connect, you know, looking forward, as Steve Jobs would say, but yeah, I digress.
Well, I mean, we were talking earlier about the broadband technology and how the Department of Education is really making that a major motivation and goal to kind of take that dialogue and place it to Ethiopia.
Sure.
Do you see technology really pushing do you think that that would be a leverage or would be a motivating factor to push Ethiopia and really propel it economically, develop in terms of development, in terms of infrastructure?
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is...
And if it's possible as well.
Sure. So the reality is, over the next 10, 15, 20 years, the information technology will become the dominant force in the world for a couple of reasons. One is, I know the economies, especially the US economy, is moving away from information technology just a bit. But eventually what's going to happen is the world will need an educated force to actually solve the problem. This means education would be an absolute key. Now, education as we see it back in the day is not going to be that. It might not be the solution. You know, going to class 9 to 5 for 12 years might not be the solution for the world market. But some people need to find a structured way of thinking.
Right.
You know, that's what education does to you. So an educated force is going to be a crucial aspect of actually propelling the Ethiopian community or any of the countries in Africa away from the issues that we're facing right now. So the way I see it is, so a company like ours, when we get into a certain level, the business will require us to actually give some of that work outside because it would become unsustainable.
Right.
So if the Ethiopian students that are currently in college, you know, have strengthened their muscles and they are ready, I'm sure there are companies who will find the Ethiopian companies much more amenable. So companies can outsource jobs to Ethiopia, or jobs can be outsourced from Ethiopia to here, so the managemental experience, you know, people who are here does it better than Ethiopia, for instance. And the technical aspect can be done much more cost effectively in Ethiopia than it can be done here.
So essentially to model kind of India,
right,
in the sense of
right,
the commodity that's being exported is
right,
services and intellectual.
Right, and it's very interesting because now you see China actually outsourcing some of the manufacturing job to Singapore or Taiwan. You know, so that type of the market force is going to force that to bleed out, the job to actually come out of the country. So the Ethiopia can get the maximum benefit from getting those things straight. You know, the education system, actually companies who can take jobs from outside and deliver it with quality. It's very, very important, like the Indians have done it, like the Chinese are doing it. So when we get to that level, I think with the advent of faster internet, we were talking about that in Ethiopia, I think it will be much more possible to do. So the economy will grow, will create a very vibrant middle class in Ethiopia, you know, as a function of what's happening here. And, you know, it will be a mutual benefit.
So then would you say, what comes first then, I guess, like the chicken or the egg? Would it be the education first or the technology? Are they inseparable at this point?
So the idea is, at least the way I see it, and this is very philosophical in so many ways. So these things needs to happen simultaneously. There's no room for it to be, just educate another million people and put them in a workforce, because by then the market might not be there. So we have to be able to train people on the job, you know, get them with the talent they have, you know, and capacity building is very important, and these people needs to learn the way around computer. And I mean, there is World Bank released a report a couple of years ago, and one of the interesting facts about it is the eastern part of Africa, from Ethiopia on down, they're called the dark age. Literally, they're in the dark age. They don't have access to information technology as much as they should. And it will be a problem because the economies of the world they're going to require information technology. So a kid who is in a public school system in Ethiopia going through 12 years, if he graduated or if she graduated without touching a computer, her disadvantage is multiple times than anywhere it would be, right? You have to learn how to use a computer. You have to learn how to use technology because that's what the market would require down the road. And it's up to us. It's up to the people who have access, who've been lucky, you know, to get this opportunity to actually give back some of this some of this access to Ethiopia schools. We've had some interesting research. We actually have done interesting projects in the past to actually create some sort of mobile library of sorts, so that
like a computer library or
a computer library. So you'll drive it from one school to another, to another. And instead of building a school with a computer,
right?
So you're gonna put the computer inside a bus, and you drive the bus to one school.
Right.
Kids will come out, learn their computers class in there. Then you drive it to a different school, and kids will come. So those type of ideas were floating. You know, we actually did the research how much it will take, and the actual implementation we didn't have the muscles to actually implement. So this type of ideas needs to happen.
Right.
You know, it needs to happen because it will be damn shame that this much, like the diaspora, and at least this many people who have access to everything here, it makes sense to give back because their success, you know, a stronger community. This is one thing we always say at Blend, right? Whatever we know, we try to share with people, with other businesses. So the reason is we don't fear competition per se. Your marketplace is massively big to create but one thing we're gonna do is if they do something right or based on what we know, or if we do something right based on what they know, what we created was a partner. You know, so for those things, for those contracts that we cannot take by ourselves, we'll have a partner to take it upon with.
Right.
So the community needs to learn how to share things. You know, I know we're not good with doing things together, but now the market system is requiring it.
Right.
I think the business community and the Ethiopian community needs to be able to lead this efforts to actually, you know, think this through, how to share best practices, how to do businesses. And I read a story yesterday at the Washington paper, and this, I think Joe Mamo, he owns about 50% of the DCB. I never knew this. There has to be a shared experience, how he's done it. His story needs to be told. You know, what you're doing is a very good effort here because it helps communicate some of the stories to the community, and there is value in that. There is value in sharing the story along the community because that's where the inspiration comes. That's where the next kid, who reads this story. And when I was high school, I saw Robel and I said, you know, I just want to be like him. There will be a kid out there who's gonna read some story somebody written about and say, you know,
that's how they did it. And right, exactly.
Right.
So then would you say it's fair or okay to say that we have failed in that the Ethiopian community here has failed in giving back? No.
It's a young community. We're only 56 years old. We're not there yet. Because this is the first wave of generation that's really, you know, was born at a young age, has a good grasp of how the American system works, and now just understanding, finding some identity. It's a young community. You know, I don't fault our community for where we are. Yes, we could have done better, sure, but we're not there yet.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish we could have had more time to talk, and how you're one of the, we didn't even get to discuss how you're one of 25 influential people marked by Addis Nagar newspaper. But again, thank you so much because, like you said, it's important that we share these stories. So,
thank you.
And if we could plug in Blend Core as well, and all the amazing things that you're doing with them in the Blend Art Show. Many thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for this.
Many thanks again to Mike Endale, the co-founder of Blendcore, also the senior application developer for the Federal Maritime Commission. Please check out blendcore.com to see more of his work. and feel free to send questions and comments about the show at thebenchmark@ebstv.tv. Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Benchmark. I'm Kallie Ejigu. See you soon.